What's up, everyone? This is Talking with Burritos, the podcast that's giving you something to talk about when you want to talk about movies and media entertainment. I am Jerry, JJ Wayne Graham, and on this podcast episode, The State of Fear, my yearly delve into the horror movie spectrum. Last year, I looked at, Friday the 13th, fifth episode? The fifth movie installment in that franchise with the girl with the powers, and she was able to use the telekinetic powers. Yes, sometimes I have themes like that where we go with Jason Halloween. I remember doing Season of the Witch. But in this episode, we're going to go back to Halloween, whereas horror movies made simple are better. And I'll delve into that in this episode of Talking with Burritos. And also, we're going to go into cryptids. I haven't done a cryptid episode or cryptoid episode in some time. We're going to have that. We're going to have horror movies, The State of Fear in 2019, and also cryptoids in this episode. So let's just get started with what I was talking about before. And simplicity in horror movies, how that sells thrillers. And for example, we're going with Halloween. Now, I am not a horror movie aficionado. I like movies. I watch movies. Particularly, I'm not really discriminate against movies, documentaries. Sometimes I'm just a little wary of because I just can't sit there that long. Some of them just aren't that interesting to me, but a lot of documentaries are. A lot of times we go into thinking like, oh, this documentary sucks. But it's not really. It's just that you have to actually sit down, watch it, and get yourself into some. Well, no, I guess I have to contradict myself. I do like a good documentary. But I really don't frequent them. I don't really frequently watch documentaries. If I'm sitting at home, I don't normally say, hey, let me go look at this documentary. A lot of times they depress me, like the one with the whales and the one with the dolphins. Those are very difficult to watch. And then the one with food and McDonald's and like how everything that you eat is bad for you. Sometimes I just feel that they're just trying to scare me out of everything that I love. That's going off topic. But horror movies, never have been a really good fan of horror movies. But I do watch them, and sometimes I will enjoy them. Sort of like Halloween this year. Okay, we have Halloween, the remake, or the actual sequel to the first Halloween, which takes place 40 years after the first movie. So 40 years later, we're supposed to believe that, okay, all of this is going to happen based on just that one movie. And all the movies in between, we had H2O, all these different Halloween movies. We had like a few, 7 or 8 in between. And we're supposed to disregard all of those. However, in this movie, there are some instances where they touch on some aspects or some subject matters related to some of a few of the previous films. I can't really pinpoint them out, but when I was watching Halloween, there were moments where something really jogged my memory. Like, hey, that's weird. I think I've seen it before. I've heard it somewhere before. So they didn't really necessarily reference the movies directly. It was all subtle that these other movies existed. However, it was good for what it's worth. And one of the things that people really celebrated about this film is that, hey, it's just like the first one. It's very simple. One location, a monster or a monstrous person hunting or killing at random. You really don't know his objective. You just know that he's killing at random. He's going back to the place where he committed this heinous crime as a kid, killed his sister. Michael Myers killed his sister, Dorothy, Bridget, I don't know what her name. He killed her. He went away to a facility. The bus crashes, and now he's back. And the same thing is happening in this movie, where he was locked up for 40 years, hasn't spoken a word to anyone. They are transporting him to another facility, and then boom, what happens? Another bus crash, and then he returns home to wreak havoc or in search of maybe his sister. There is no actual explanation as to why he is after Lori, this babysitter that he tried to kill in the first movie. Only maybe that she was in the house that he used to live in. Or just that maybe she resembled his sister. And so he wants to kill her. So whatever, he has a vendetta against her. He wants to kill all these people. This is a simple enough theme. A simple enough thing for this movie, for a horror movie. Guy breaks out, guy goes to town, guy kills people. and puts everyone on alert. Like, okay, he just wreaks in one night. He wreaks all types of havoc, or maybe it's 2 nights. No, I think it was just Halloween that night. He wreaks all types of havoc, and so he's returned again. And so this is kind of a remakequel of sorts. See, now, Chris, you might yell at me again for this, and I will play that episode back. All this stuff that was in the original
I don't think it was a
Ghostbusters
remake.
without giving us.
I think it was just a remake.
Nah, it was a requel.
I don't know how it was a remake, though. There
I'ma
was
tell you how
no ties to
I'ma
the
tell-
original.
I'll tell you guys in the show notes what episode that was, where you can actually listen to me and Chris debate this remakequel, where you take, well, it's a remake of a remake sequel, where you're making this a sequel, but you're remaking the first film. Kind of like what we saw in episode 1. Not episode 1, but episode Star Wars 7. I think it's 4, 5, 6. And then 7 was the last, not the Last Jedi, but the Force Awakens. You have the Force Awakens, where it was pretty much a remaking of Star Wars, but it's a sequel. So they call it the remakequel. And that's what this movie is, where they want to take it back. They want to take it from this point on and then as a sequel, but they remade the first one. Why? To just maybe familiarize new audiences, but then entertain older audiences with the content, with the pre-existing content. And that's what I feel that they did with this movie. Not necessarily, I guess, yes, it is a sequel, but it's actually a remake of the first movie. But they got away with it by saying, hey, this is 40 years later, so technically this is just a new movie. No, they're trying to remake it. And even some of these little subtle hints in the movie give you clues that, hey, they would like to continue this saga. And so with Halloween, you have the simplicity of the film. There's simplicity, but there's a story there. I was watching this other film that was recommended by I think it was GQ, an article in GQ, the entertainment section of it. And this guy, he said the only movie that you should be watching this year is Silent Night, Deadly Night. Okay, and if you guys haven't heard of this movie, it was filmed in 1972. Very kind of rough around the edges film. Looks like an independent movie. Like it was just filmed by someone who happened to have a camera and was making things happen with it. It wasn't necessarily professional, and it kind of looked like crap at times, but yet that was the beauty of it. The beauty of it all was the simplicity of the movie. And in this movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night really looked like, or could have been, a template for movies to come after it that came in like the late 70s, like Halloween, like Freddy, like even Freddy, yeah, and Michael Myers and Friday the 13th. You have technically, whereas it really set up these different storylines. Like, let's say in this movie, we have the guy who breaks out of a psychiatric facility and returns home. You don't know who he is. He might be the killer. He might not. You have a haunted house, a house where people died. You have like maybe a psycho element there, a psycho element where someone died in this house and there's this creepy thing. It could be the guy from the psychiatric ward, or it could be something else within this house that's killing people, who's inviting people to this home to be killed. And then you have, unsuspected people like Chainsaw Massacre just passing by. But they weren't really unsuspected. This guy was selling, he was a realtor. He was selling the house, or a bank representative. He's selling the house for someone, and then he ends up in the home and, things happen. Then you have a town who's hiding a secret. And then you have people there in this house, and they want to kill this secret. So they're like, what? A Freddy Krueger. And then you just have all these slasher elements. You have this secret narrative. The one thing I liked about this film, though, is that it had a story, but yet it was very simply told. They had narration, yes, to give it some kind of awe of mystery. So they had this narrated film about this house, and it's basically an estate. The actual creature, or the actual subject matter, or the monster character of this film is the house itself. The house was a demonization of, or a representation of, the horror and mystery surrounding this town and its people, and the guy who breaks out of the mental ward, and the entity lurking within the home. the people in the town who are against an outsider coming in to sell the home, who just want the home itself. Why? Because they have their own reasons. But there's something about this house that they don't like, that they can't really touch upon or reveal to the person selling it. And so it's very simple horror movie, but it had a lot of character in its telling of the story. It had this ambience, this feeling, this aura about it, that it was like you noticed that, hey, this is a horror movie. There was no like, hey, this just might be a thriller. No, it had a great simplistic, simple story, simplicity to it that really made it great. It seemed like it was more avant-garde for its time, where you had these the use of the fisheye lens, then this vignette, photo production, quality of the film, where the edge is all blurred out and or shadowed. You could tell like a lot of like just amateur independent horror movies, you just have a lot of experimentation. You go back to what? Not like Guillermo del Toro, but the guy who did like The Evil Dead and all these different movies. Some of his first movies are very experimental, but yet they are great now. Especially even like the Walking Dead movie, just a very experimental film, but using all these practical effects and surrounded by this like kind of insane story, they really made a great film that at its time, well, now to us looks amateurish, but yet if you look at it in the context and you look at the effort and you just really pay attention to it, it's like, wow, this is actually a well-made horror movie. So, yes, you go to that simplicity of that movie. So I would recommend if you watched, Friday the 13th, any of those movies, I recommend Silent Night, Deadly Night. Go and watch that film. Why? Because it really will give you a sense of what comes later after those films in the later 70s. It just had a real horror movie feel to it. And there really was, it's just like I said, there was no question as to, like, this is a horror movie. Nowadays, we have this question, like, is it horror or thriller? I asked this last year in the State of Fear, 2018. It's like, what's the difference, horror or thriller? A lot of times, these things, we split the category. When back in the day, it was just horror. But later on, we started getting these thrillers. And some people would say, hey, would categorize a film as a thriller, others a horror movie. Which one isn't? Let's go into 2018. No, yeah, it's 2018 right now. Horror movie 2017. State of Fear was last year. Let's go with some popular movies that came out this year that are considered horror. I was looking at this. I was looking at a few different lists out there. And you have Annihilation. Like, was that a horror or a thriller or just a sci-fi thriller or sci-fi horror? I didn't necessarily think of it. It does have some nice horror movie elements that it could be more of a psychological horror because it didn't really bring the grotesqueness of a horror film. Sort of like Aliens. Aliens was a horror movie back in the day. A lot of people didn't know that this was rated a horror movie. So you have your sci-fi horror or your sci-fi thriller. You could label it like a sci-fi horror or Silence of the Lambs. A lot of people put that in horror movie category. That wasn't a horror movie. That was a thriller. That's like Body of Lies. Or what is that one? Angelina Jolie type film. Where it's a psychological thriller. But it wasn't necessarily a horror movie. Sometimes the lines are blurred between what's a horror and a thriller. Okay, let's go on to another notable movie I watched this year. The Quiet Place. Horror movie or thriller? It has horror movie elements like the aliens and, but yet it was more a psychological thriller. Or was it psychological horror? You don't really necessarily get that psychological horror title. So if we could just say, to me, that was a horror movie. I would categorize it as just a horror film. Same with, what was the one after that? Hereditary, horror movie. That one necessarily is a horror movie. That was made to scare and disgust you and really traumatize you. And maybe with the sci-fi element of The Quiet Place, it didn't really necessarily make it quite that much a horror movie. And since there wasn't much dialogue and much else going with. It was more of a suspense builder. But that would be categorized as like a psychological thriller. Yes, it has horror elements, kind of like Signs. Signs, horror, like a thriller. No one really put that in the category of horror. That was a psychological thriller. Why? Because most of the movie was bent on suspense. It wasn't bent on like trying to scare you. Hereditary, that movie was made to scare you. Okay, let's talk about another one that I really anticipated. I really anticipated The Nun. I thought that would be a lot better. See, and this is another example when I say simplicity rules over all this other crap. Keep it simple. Conjuring movies. Okay, see, that movie just freaked me out. I watched like maybe 10 minutes of it. Still haven't watched The Conjuring. I watched the first 10 minutes of the first movie and it freaked me the hell out. I turned it off. I went home. I was supposed to watch a double feature that evening, but I turned it off and I went home. I was about to watch both movies. Why? Because it scared me that much. I don't know. It could have been me. I was just in that type of mood. I was just, something spooked me and I just could not sit there and watch this film. But to me, in talking to other people, it's simplicity of it all. You have two people who are sent to exorcise a demon from another individual, someone who is possessed. Boom. Subject matter. They usually keep them in a room and there's all these things happen, sort of like The Exorcist, where you have all these things happening and bam, that's what it is. That's where the story lies. Once you go out of that, like The Nun, okay, you have The Nun. You have a nun and then a nun and a priest, a Vatican priest. They're sent to investigate this murder or this suicide at this monastery for nuns, whatever. You have this. They're there, but then you have all, and instead of like them investigating this entity, simple plot, they go there, they get trapped, they get the crap scared out of them. Or they try to exorcise this demon from this church. Could have been that simple, but when they start adding this other guy because they had to tie the stories in together, they added this one guy and they had added all these other elements to it that really convoluted the story that would just seem like they were placed there to try to scare you and not necessarily there to help the story and just scare you along the way, if you understand that. Purposefully putting things, scenes in the movie to just scare you instead of move the story along and have these people endure and conquer or be defeated by this mysterious being within this establishment, within this monastery. So I really didn't like that one that much. I anticipated, I thought it would be a lot better than it was. It wasn't my cup of tea. I thought Annabelle was probably scarier than that because you have a doll and she was killing everybody. Even Annabelle 2, that was a decent film as well. I enjoyed that one. After watching this movie, it was just the simplicity of horror movies today. Even Searching. Her Searching wasn't necessarily a horror movie rather than a psychological thriller. But you did have some like Friend Request. You had that movie come out. And that was just silly. Truth or Dare, silly. Not much horror to it because they try to spoof it up too much. Let's go back to making these slasher films like Scream back in the day. Okay? And even then within the last 5 years, you had like It Follows, great movie. The Witch, great movie. Those are horror movies. Those you can really stand out as horror movies. But if you can't stand out as a horror movie, then you're just a thriller. My question is, though, should they be separate? Should they be separate categories? Or should they all just be lumped into horror? That's always been my question. So, yeah, State of Fear 2018. I just don't think that they're still doing the same stuff. We're not telling the simple stories. We're trying to convolute our simple stories with studio or Hollywood pizzazz that don't necessarily scare, but are there to make it seem scary. Go back to just being original. So Suspiria is supposed to come out this year. It's not really being played live, so maybe I'll touch on that in a later episode once I watch that film. But that's, taking Dario Argento he was like a horror movie master back in in the early 1970s. 1970, he made a lot of horror movies, a lot of slasher films. And his were a lot just kind of not subjective necessarily, but surrealism horror. We're pretty much doing the same thing that we've done in the past with horror movies, but with Date One, I think they have so many entities out there. Some of the movies that they're producing from his company now and from the ones that he helped produce, they're not original. Because even in The Nun, you see, okay, this is James Wan's factor. You could tell that this is part of his template, part of the way he tells stories or wants other people to tell stories. You also have the first key, Insidious. That was this year. That was made to scare, but yeah, that was a horror movie. I would really categorize that was a horror movie, but it just wasn't that endearing, that gripping, that scary to me. It was more like, oh, look, this thing is around that corner. Might not want to go there, but you're going to go there anyway, and I'm supposed to jump. Horror movies are just not my thing. I know some people really loved Halloween. They thought it was pretty darn good. Yeah, and it was good. I liked, some of the twists. I like the things that I basically, I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and a lot of references in this film is very nostalgia to the first movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, one of them. She's just badass. However, I just wasn't that great for it to me. But it did reveal to me that, simplicity wins in a lot of these movies with horror movies. Simplicity lives. Go back and watch independent horror movies. Some of those will freak you out more than the stuff that they have now. And I would hope to see more from like a Netflix of that type of horror movie coming out. And they do touch on some from, different countries, and I like that. And James Wan in his next movie with Lorena de something, that's based on, a Mexican horror legend, myth. I think that's kind of cool too. Let's go and investigate other countries, other stories from other countries, because they all have their versions of vampires, their versions of mythical creatures. Some of those stories are even scarier. But I did watch one called The Cuckoo. It was on Sci-Fi. This is my one Sci-Fi watch this year. Is The Cuckoo called The Boogeyman. It's a Hispanic, Mexican legend about the boogeyman. This one guy who comes to you in your sleep. No, if you're bad, they come to you basically just as a story to tell kids to scare them. They come to you if you're bad, and they'll steal you away in a bag. So if you're like a horrible person, which, I wish we did have that, because some of these little bastards running around here need to be taken away. Just to one of those scared straight homes. So what if the cuckoo comes around, like you think it's a monster or something like that, but it's really a police officer dressed as a monster. They put you in a bag and they drag your butt off to these scared straight camps where it might traumatize you. You might be traumatized for a long time. But, once you complete it, hopefully you do, it's like, ta-da, look, mom and dad did this. Yay, come home to us. But you need to not be a bad person. Just raise good people. That's what I'm saying, people. So, all right, now, let's get on to the fun stuff, because you know how much I like fun stuff. I am a fan of the occult. Not the occult shit. That sounds weird. But only in certain contexts, like Anne Rice books and stuff like that, and witches. And I love all that stuff. I love reading about them. I love the stories surrounding them. I love urban legends of sorts, not the dumb ones. But most of all, I just love cryptoid news. Ha! All right, y'all. This is Dim the Lights. The J-Dog about to get sexy. Click with some cryptoids. Cryptoids. Demons. Vampires.
Blah, blah, blah.
Sock trolls. Yeah.
Give it yourself.
It's time for the cryptoid. I love stupid things. I love cryptoid news. I love, things like your Bigfoot, surrounding Bigfoot and Sasquatch, aliens, robots, ghosts. I love this stuff because I think, because mystery and legends, they're just people disregard them as stupidity. A lot of rational people, or who think they're rational, really take mysteries and legends and don't really take them as the truth unless it's like written in the Bible. But choosing to believe is like nothing dangerous. But I think it's where if we fail to imagine, that's where we start losing ourselves as an evolving species. And I think, what is it? Robert Kennedy said something like that. If we don't go to the moon, then who doesn't? Or if you don't imagine going to the moon, then who will? And I think it all starts there. Think about stories and storytelling. It's all based in imagination, a lot of the fiction. But for me, I really think it comes from another higher power. I think it comes from something else. You know, maybe we're tapped into another dimension or we lived other lives. I really think that some of the stories that we tell are exemplary of that. Could be a conjuring of thoughts of another person or another being that has existed or existing is existing somewhere else. Whatever. But that's something totally different. We'll get into that later. But let's go into some cryptoid news with which there hasn't been much going on here. You know, not really much. There've been some Bigfoot news and stuff, some sightings of some things that I would like to talk about and really rant and rave about. But I want to talk about my own experience first of all. It was in May 2018. My daughter just graduated from college, okay? So, or JC college. I don't think I have to you know why should I belittle that? She graduated from college, okay? So she graduates and we're driving home. We're about to turn onto my street, right? Making a left-hand turn onto my street. And I look off because you're doing your right, left, right, look right, look left, and then look right again. And I'm looking right, and I see in the sky a triangle of lights. I'm not shitting you. And my wife, you can freaking ask her. My wife, she saw it because I'm like looking at them. I'm like, look at this, look at this. And the kids like, huh? They always like that. I don't understand. Whenever you tell a kid like, look at this, they look the other way. So seriously, they were looking the other way. My wife and I think my mother-in-law, she was looking the other way as well. She wasn't paying attention. But my wife and I, we saw it. She's like, what the hell is that? And we're staring at it. It was like, what the hell? Those are three well-positioned lights. Bam, bam, bam. Triangle lights. Just sitting off right there, hovering almost above the Air Force Base, right? Just above the Air Force Base. And there's also another light kind of underneath it. And that was a plane. We noticed that would be a plane flying underneath it because Tucson International is south of the Air Force Base, southeast of the Air Force Base. So we see a plane underneath it, but above it in the sky are three triangle lights. And boom, I freak out. She freaks out. She's like, I saw that. And then I turn onto the street. I try to get safely home so I don't freaking crash. Cause I'm sitting there. I'm trying to stare this thing down and really look at it and like, oh snap, and not lose it basically, not have it disappear on me. So I safely turned into my home. It was just right because my home is almost like one house off the corner. So I turn and then I'm going and I park and I jump out and I look and boom, my wife and I look and it's gone. It's already gone. It's gone. So the kids couldn't see it. My mother-in-law couldn't see it. But the only person who could see it was my wife, and I'm glad she saw it because normally I'm saying I'm seeing some weird stuff out there. And she's like, bull crap, I believe it when I see it. But she can attest to it that she saw it as well. There were three lights in the sky. And I really talk about this because Arizona, if you look on YouTube and, certain sites, even back in January, they said they saw triangle lights in the sky. Okay, now, and what was it 1992, 97? I think it was 1997, 98. What the Phoenix lights, where you have this dome, this like kind of like it was an area of lights, kind of concurved area of lights, like this arc of light in the sky hovering above Phoenix. A lot of people saw it, and they've made different movies off of it. Recently, it was called Phoenix Forgotten. I did an episode on that. I would say, because Arizona has like some of the clearest skies, less fog pollution, especially at night. Just if you look up in the sky, you can see a plethora of just stars. This very great area, Tucson, Arizona, is great for stargazing. So we see these lights, and so I just on that I just talked about that because because I've read about the Phoenix lights. I've read about other lights in the sky that people see, and it was just really weird. And so I go and search, I go and research. I'm looking at the news, and we're looking at the news like somebody had to see this, somebody had to see this, but no one saw it, but she and I. So it was kind of weird that no one else saw it, but what can you do in that instance? You know yourself. I know for myself that I did witness those lights in the sky, and they did just kind of poof and disappear on me. And but it sucks. And so, hey, if you've ever seen an alien being or thought you saw a flying saucer, the belief is there. See, the belief that instills my belief. But does it mean that I'm going to disbelieve everything else that I've heard? No, I'm not gonna go out there and say, well, aliens exist. I still already believe aliens or something else has to exist out there. Have we seen it? Possibly. It might be in plain sight. I don't know. That's just me. But I'm not going to stop my life to investigate it. But it was a phenomenon that happened to me, and it was kind of cool being someone who reads about these things, who believes that there is something out there, to actually see something weird and odd like that and not have it explained. That's why I really like the whole the Phoenix Lights spectra, and the story around it, and the hypocrisy around it, and the disregard of this event actually happening, but by people at that moment who later recanted what they said and attest to actually seeing something in the sky that day. But for media purpose, or for the purpose of not causing mass hysteria or covering up, it could be like a military exercise, testing a new plane or something, because, if they're always creating things that we don't know, and they'll test them, and they're not going to explain it to you because they don't have to. However, you did have all these things happen, and plus, hey, if anything, Kurt Russell said that he saw them. He said he was flying a plane. You can look this up. He said he was flying a plane around this area, his piloting his plane, and he saw those lights that day, but that he stayed quiet because, he's a celebrity. And if he starts coming out and say, hey, I saw aliens, people would shun him and possibly discredit him as an actor or a sane person. Now, here's another thing with cryptoids. Okay, we had a couple sightings of the Loch Ness Monster once again. No. Screw that. I'm going to go into a time traveler. This time traveler his name is Jamie Oliver, okay? Claims to be from the year 6491. So this is on Apex TV. If you haven't listened or heard anything on Apex TV or YouTube, I'm going to convince you to not ever do that. Don't ever go there. Don't listen to it. I just happened to click on the article, and I was reading about this. I'm like, this is ridiculous, because I've seen a few articles come up in my feed, my weird news feed, and it always centers around someone claiming that they're from the future. So, I bit the apple. My curiosity led me to this one site, and I was thinking to myself, basically, I wanted to just ridicule it. And I'm going to do that now. And I might do it in the video. But, okay, this guy claims to be from 1649, but he goes to Apex Television. Now, you can say that, okay, he found an outlet. He found someone that might believe him, because, ABC would likely close the door in his face. So going to Apex TV, I guess, is a way to get it out there, because they do have an audience but they also have a reputation of just being full of bull. He goes there and he's talking about he's from 6091, and we're supposed to believe him. And they have this video of him sitting in a conference room, which doesn't look official, whatever. It looks like a school, maybe a room in a classroom in a college and or a high school. I'm just saying, you look at it yourself. I have the video and the links in the show notes for this episode. But it looks like he's just sitting in a classroom or something that doesn't have stuff on the walls, photos or frames or anything like that. They try to make it to a clean room. But for me, I was thinking, okay, special effects people, Come on, you can easily make a room that looks like a little interview room and make it look official. You really can. They do it all the time. Just use a green screen and some good lighting. Do it. Do it like that. Or rent out a place like in an industrial area or something as, that's up for sale. And like, hey, can we use this room for like a couple $100 so I can do an interview? If you really want to make it look real, but this guy is telling them all about, like, he's from this year. Oh, I'm a scientific engineer, wearing a hoodie. His face is blurred out. His voice is altered. And I just thought this is stupid. And even the interviewer, his face was blurred. But I'm just saying, if I'm a time traveler, I'm not necessarily going to Apex Television. I'm going to NBC. And you know what I'm going to do at NBC? I'm going to prove some shit to NBC. I'm going to go to NBC and I'm going to go in there and I'm maybe going to bring like a futuristic weapon. Okay, maybe not a weapon because you might get shot then because then you'll be in the future and you won't make it toward the future. No, you still be dead. If you die in the past, oh, no, because you're still a remnant of the future. You just traveled to the past. So you can still be dead and still be born. You just play this whole cycle over again, and you'll just, in the end, just be as dead as a doorknob in 2018. Whatever. I will go to NBC and say, look at this. Do some kind of little transponder crap or whatever. Make a little Star Wars hologram. I don't know what it is, but I will wow those people and have them put me on it. So why are you going to Apex Television if that's the thing? What is Apex Television going to do out there, do for you? They're not going to do anything because they're not credible. If you want to prove to people that you can time travel, you go to someone reputable, CNN, not Fox News. They like sharks. CNN, I already said CNN. NBC, I don't know. Go to freaking Regis and Kelly or Kelly and Ryan. Go to them. Go to someone who will put you on there with your proof. And the thing is, if you're ever going to go to someone, you can't just say, hey, show up. I got proof. Boom. You got to go to someone sneakily. It's like, hey, dude, I got proof and I'm going to show you. You got to wow that one person who will take the risk to get you on television so you can show the world that you are from 6491 and that if we don't change our shit right away, then we're all going to die. Period. That's it. It's all about, I'm getting tired. Don't you get tired of this shit? See, this is the theme of this Cryptoid episode. It's like, show me. Show me the proof. Or show me the money. Show me that money shot. Not that money shot. No. Show me the money. Show me what you have to prove to me that, hey, this thing is real. This stuff this wolf ticket you're trying to sell me is actually authentic and not just some BS that you're making up and that you just want to, because nowadays freaking YouTube is crazy. Anyone can post a video. And I'm saying if you're going to do it, just do it right though. Make a good video. We want to see people, we want to see something. I would have added some freaking special effects. You can easily go online, buy special effects to put on a green screen to make it look cool. Hire your best friend, go to a college and say, hey, special effects guy, kid that's sitting there eating top ramen. Hey, kid, slap on the side of the head if you need to. But he has the facilities at school in his little media arts department to actually take that footage and do some crazy stuff with it and be like, okay, good, okay, bro. What I'm going to do is I'm going to construct this weird looking thing and I'm going to put it on that channel with that interview. So when the guy opened his hands, you see this little thing that looks like a little Nerf gun, but then it opens up and it does these cool things like choo 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 chick chick. What, like a little transformer. Next thing you know, boom, 1,100 clicks. That's exactly what I said. 1,100,000. That's an actual quantity. But show me. Getting tired of this shit when people don't show me. And so when I say don't show me, and plus let me go back. Like if you're gonna come to Earth, just like, and I'll say show me like Dave Bowie did. Dave Bowie came, saw, and he conquered. In that movie, The Man Who Fell from Earth. it was kind of trippy. He was weird, but he brought with him money. He brought with him currency, and then he brought with him this psychedelic trip that showed you where he was from. He was able to tap into the minds of the human and say, "Hey, this is where I'm from," and freak everybody the hell out. And he also brought other people who came to get him. If I remember that movie correctly, I just remember White Sands and Something Stars. What was that old song? Whatever, it's like a country song or something, or folk song. Come to Earth with something. Don't just show up on Apex TV and saying, "I have something for you. Look at me. I'm just going to sit here and do an interview." I'm not supposed to believe that. You can be a crazy person off the street. You can be me. I can roll up in there and be like, "Dude, I'm from the year 1649." or 8,964. You know, I could just tell you I'm from anywhere. I'm from another damn dimension. I can tell you I'm from anywhere. I'm from Kansas. I can tell you all that, and will you believe me? No, but I have to show you some proof. You know, I got a Buckeyes jersey. Boom, look at me. No, that's Ohio State Buckeyes. Jayhawks jersey. Look at me. I'm from Kansas. So I just need some proof. This is me in my corn patch. I don't know. Just give me some proof. Watch on The Man Who Fell for Earth if you really want to see a good movie about someone doing that, actually coming to Earth for a reason, and not just to show up and be on Apex Television, a YouTube channel. The whole thing about this article is like, he passed a lie detector. Anyone can pass it if you actually study on it and learn how to control your breathing and the pace of your heart, because that's what it's reading. Etymology, is that what it is? I don't know what it is. It's cardiogram. It just sits there and it will read your heart rate, and based on your breathing and if you're sweating and stuff like that, visibly you can see some signs of people who twitch and do certain things if they're lying. But if you're really a trained individual and this is what you're training for, you can easily subvert or beat a lie detector test. So don't try to say Jamie Oliver claims he's from year 1991, time traveler passes lie detector test. That doesn't really tell me much. It just tells me that you've got a crazy person to take a lie detector test and pass it and say he's from another planet. And also, I was reading this other one, a guy from 2030, right? He's from 2030, and he had video footage. Now, this is where special effects comes into play. Where I was talking about, hey, let's add some special effects here to make it believable. He comes into the story with a phone, which is just a phone, like our Samsung Galaxy or something. He comes with this phone, and he has video footage from Las Vegas as it is in 2030, and it has flying stars and cars and such. It looks like a futuristic, realistic Jetsons episode. And cool, I got you. I give them style points for the sci-fi element of it using the footage and from Vegas and the special effects. But bullshit, so stupid. 2030, come on, that's what 12 years away, almost 11 years away. And in 2000, back in the Jetsons days or 1980s, we thought that there would be flying star cars and high-rise skyscrapers and space needles basically everywhere. And that's where we would live in the Jetsons world of 2000. We thought in 2000 we would be driving these flying cars. And we're in 2018, and that's not happening, sir. I even believed in Back to the Future. That shit ain't happening. So, that's stupid, and you're an idiot, and don't ever don't do that ever again. Don't even look up that footage. That's just dumb. That dude got this thing on a loop of just flying cars. Like, oh, come on, man. Come on. When I say we need to see, and it's playing on your Samsung Galaxy, bro. Come on, I need a cool little gadget-looking phone, because I'm thinking if it's going to be that technology is that advanced in the future, you're going to have something cooler, like this little holographic picture thing that comes up like Minority Report. You guys seen that one? He just does a flick of the wrist, and the thing comes up, and he could draw the screen right there in front of you and press play. He has interactions right there just from the palm of his hand. And you come in with your Samsung phone saying, I'm from the future, look what I got. Dumbass. We had a couple of Loch Ness sightings that were, not really mainstream news, but weird news. So I got my eyes, my resources tapped into the weird news. First of all, guy takes a picture. He recorded a 10-minute video of a moving Loch Ness monster. A girl in a paddle boat with her grandmother films the Loch Ness monster or something that looked like the Loch Ness. It was from far away and it was shimmering. It was like kind of surfacing out of the water with a nice shimmer. So if you ever seen whale skin or a shark or a dolphin or something like that, you see with the way the oils and stuff on their skin, and their skin will shimmer. She takes a far off picture of this thing shimmering. And then there's also another little girl who was just on a trip with her mom. I think it was Scotland she was in. And she takes a picture and she takes video of this thing in the water from far away, kind of bobbing up and down. And she's really into it. It's like, hey, look, I did this. And people are like, oh, cool. This is the best freaking video of the Loch Ness we've seen in years. Yay. And they said this like maybe a month ago when that old guy took the video. Come on. Then that doesn't, we have a lot of those. And one of them, they were all in different areas too. And I know that one Loch Lake feeds into other bodies of water. So it's possible that this thing could travel distances to other bodies of water. But my thing is, come on, people, you learn how to use a phone. I'm sorry to curse, but learn how to use a phone, please. The zoom on your phone is crap. You're not going to be able to do much with it. Don't zoom in with your phone. Once you zoom in with your phone, you're going to get a very grainy image. Yes, in some instances, you're trying to do this on the slide clandestine. You sit around a bush and you're trying to film like a cop trying to beat somebody up or something, and you don't want to be seen. Or any other, or like your cheating husband or something, and you don't want to be seen. Like, it's year 2018. We have that crappy-ass video of Bigfoot that people say was Bigfoot in, 1960, 1970, something like that. We have that grainy footage. But you would think in 2019, with the phone and technology we have, that we would get a better picture of whatever phenomenon you say is out there that you saw. But there's one lesson that they say to use. Use your feet to zoom. Meaning, move up on the object. Get closer to the object so you can get a better picture. Don't show me 100 yards away a picture of Loch Ness. Walk up to that thing. Like, at this point, who cares? You think it's going to run away? So? It's still going to, you got a crappy version of it. But if you try to get closer, maybe you might get a better picture of it. And then shut up all these naysayers who like me are like, oh, that shit don't exist. Because you haven't given me any proof. Give me some proof. Walk up to the thing and take a picture. I hate these faraway grainy-ass video of people saying like, look, this is the Loch Ness. No, that looks like a log, bruh. That's just a thing in the water. We don't know what that is. We don't know what creatures lurk underwater. That's the point of it, I know, but you can't prove to me that that's the Loch Ness. You just say, hey, look, this weird thing, I'm around that area, Loch Ness. That's basically how they contribute this. That's how they eat that. That's how they come to their resolution. It's like, look, that looks like I'm around Scotland. I'm around Ireland. I'm something around these lakes where this thing could be, and that looks like a big old log or a thing in the water. It looks like it's traveling. Not that it has current or anything, or that the wind is blowing today, but it looks like it's traveling in the water. And boom, this thing must be bad. This is Loch Ness. I'm gonna take a picture of it from my balcony of my house, which is 3 blocks away from this lake. Ugh, makes no damn sense, and I hate it. You piss me off. And the same thing goes for, and I'm saying this for someone else too. The guy who, his name is Todd Standing. He's a Canadian. And he wanted an area of land protected by the government for protection of Bigfoot. And that's all fine and dandy. He put in the law. He put in the amendment. He wanted to actually have this land restricted, protected by the government. The Canadian government. He wanted this land protected. Why? Because he says he swears Bigfoot lives there. Fine and dandy. You know what this lawyer said? Said the same damn thing I did. It's like, okay, this cool. You might worship this thing that's there, And yes, you can probably get, protection of religion of protection or something like that law for this land. But only thing I want is proof of your findings that Bigfoot lives there. Show me some proof, and then I'll do it. I'll exercise that into law and say this land is protected to protect this species of animal that resides there. Dude hasn't done anything since. So if you really want people to believe you, that's why people think a lot of you guys are crazy. And, just because you sit there and you like, oh, this thing is this, but then you're showing no one proof. Like I can watch like Haunted on AMC or the History Channel. I can watch one of those things and watch people go into a house one good time and say that little spectrum or that dot of light just came in from the outside. And yeah, I might say, oh, that's interesting once, but you do it like a million times, I'm going to say I'm going to need more proof than that. I actually need to see a ghost and not just a spectrum of light, a light reflected off of something else. Like even my wife, she worked in a hospital, haunted hospital, and she said she saw some things, and she actually had a picture of like a glare. Like someone sent him that he was there alone, and he went out and he looked, and there was picture of this like kind of like white ghostly glare in his camera. I'm like, oh, that's pretty damn cool. Because why he went out and he took a picture of it because he wasn't freaking scared of it. And my wife talks about it all the time, like experiencing things, feelings and all that of a ghost presence. But actually seeing it in that photo, that was actually pretty neat. I like that. I thought that was cool. So the thing is, all you people who believe in these crazy, insane, well, what people might think is insane things, like freaks of nature or conspiracy, cryptoids, go out there. Just go look at it. Take a picture. Risk yourself for the picture. Risk the safety of your life for the picture. Who knows? Bigfoot might be, he might actually be nice. It might not be like the commercials, the Jack Jerky links, where he just like attacks you. But, if those commercials teach us anything, if you're just cool with it, you go with the flow. Sasquatch is like, what up? Let's take this picture. But you can't just say, oh, look, from far away. There was this another one, too. I'll put this in the show notes about these people. They took this thing eyeballing this goat. They took a picture of this thing out on the edge. It was like eyeing this moose, but it was like on a road, highway, a stretch of road, and wooded area. And off to the side, these people were parked. And they were filming this thing that looked like it was an alien being, like stalking or this moose. But, and if you read some of the comments and stuff, you look at some of the science behind it, looks like it was just a reflection of a person that's standing in the mirror. And so they reflected upon the glass because it doesn't because the thing doesn't strike or anything. It's just looking at this moose that's just kind of chilling on the side of the road, grazing. So it's things like that where it's like, okay, well, it's cool to entertain the thought of it at the moment, but then actually realize it. If you really want it to stick and become a cultural significant cultural significance, a matter of cultural significance, then or historic significance, then walk up to it, get a better picture. You have these dope ass cameras. The XR freaking iPhone can do so many great things now. Even the Samsungs. You go up to a Samsung, like these people have great lenses on these cameras now. Just walk up to that thing and take a picture so you can have some proof so you can shut everyone up. You can say, look here, I got pictures, I'm shutting everyone up. I'm famous. Out. But, yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm getting tired of, I might just stop looking up that because next time somebody says, I got a picture of Loch Ness and they don't do anything about it, and they're just sitting there like Loch Ness is going to know your little puny self is on the side filming them. No. Loch Ness is a big old creature underwater. He's not looking up like, what at? What at? He's not looking up at you like, whatever. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, and also another thing. If you guys haven't, this guy, what's his name? Shoot. There's another story that came out about last year. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. This priest, or this pastor, he was doing this he was giving a sermon. And, he chose to take upon him. And in his sermon, he kind of takes a snake, and he kind of holds it up to the congregation. Look at this serpent, this demon. He does all that stuff. Well, back then, about a couple of years ago, this snake bit him, and he died right there on the spot. So guess who awaits to take the mantle? His son. So it was like, what, a couple months ago, back in August, I think. August? I think it's August. And this guy, his son, was actually giving a sermon. And what did he do? What did this idiot do? He takes a snake out, waves it in front of the crowd. The snake takes him, bites his ass. So he's losing blood. This dude, this venom is making itself. Like, why don't they just demonize these things? Devenom the snake. They do it. They do it to cobras. They do it to rattlesnakes. They devenomize it. They take out the venom out of there, like fangs and stuff. Yeah, that is bad on the animal. Yes, I'm just saying, PETA, whatever. It's not recommended, but they do that for these sort of things. So this guy has this snake. Forgot what snake it was. Takes a bite, he almost dies. And one of the things I want to say is, you're an idiot, and you better be glad, because they had someone in their congregation, this guy who, I think it was his brother, Big Jim, or just someone in the congregation who reacted fast and said, okay, we need to get you to a hospital because you don't look right. They got him to a hospital, and they were able to administer an antivenom, so the guy lived. But the thing is, like, dude, your dad, that's like, see, I'm not going to even say that about Steve Irwin knew what he was doing about that. But, it's about his son taking up that mantle. Like, how do you do that in the face of this thing that happened to your father that causes death? He's probably a more smart, knowledgeable kid than this idiot who actually just wanted to try, be like his dad and, almost suffered the ultimate price for it. Also, I'm going to say the JJ beer is nasty. Well, people are soaking like women's worn underwear in beer for the essence of the woman in their beer, and I just say that's unsanitary. Period. There's no other way to say that that's unsanitary. Someone is wearing their drawers, and you're putting it in a beer. You're letting it soak in a beer, a liquid that someone else is going to consume. That's disgusting. Don't do it. Don't ever drink it. I think it's happening over in Germany. Someone was doing it, and I read a story about it maybe earlier this year of them doing this in a bar in Japan. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to that and tell everyone I know, no, if you listen to this podcast, don't do that, please. But if you do, that's well within your right. But I want to talk about now, let's talk about ghosts, because tis the season to be ghostly, right? Let's talk about the woman who admits to having ghosts. A woman is having sex with a ghost. She thinks like this spirit is the spirit of her ex-boyfriend. If you've never seen this, there's a Black Mirror episode that's kind of like this. But the thing is, with the spirit of her boyfriend, she, in the Black Mirror episode, her husband dies. He was played by Jamal Gleason. Her husband dies, and then she gets him back in the form of a robot. He has his memories and all this stuff like that, and they try to, his mannerisms. They take it all from like video footage and stuff of him, and they remake him as a robot. And so, but this lady claims that the spirit of her boyfriend ghost or whatever, I think it was a spirit of a boyfriend, and she's having sex with him. Okay, she's enjoying herself. Yay. Okay, she's having fun with a ghost. I just call that masturbation. Whatever, because I can easily just say, hey, I'm having sex with a ghost, y'all. But whatever, she can do whatever she wants. It's her prerogative. I'm not in that bedroom, I couldn't tell you. But she's in love with it. She's in love with this ghost. I mean, she's like a stripper or something. She's in love with this ghost, and she wants to have babies with the ghost. I'm not even. But recently, just the other day, it comes out, oh, she's getting married to the ghost. Now, I don't know about y'all. I just picture this. Like, I can easily walk into a bar just like anything else and say, I know Sasquatch. But I ain't got no damn proof. So this lady says she wants to, she wants to have babies with a ghost. All right, cool. Show me the proof after you get pregnant of that ghostly baby. And I want to see that ghost belly too. You got to give me, shots. I need those Instagram shots that people talk, those So stage shots on the baby. I'm like, oh, look at my belly at 3 months. This is my ghost baby at 6 months. My ghost belly at 9 months. Oh, snap. Ghost baby. Next thing you know, you see this ghost baby. A little Casper baby or something like that. I don't know. So she wants to have ghost babies. I don't know why this shit gets traction, people. Why do we invest ourselves in this? There are people, no, you don't want to get depressed because this is an entertainment podcast right now. But why? Why do we find it? Oh, well, we find it interesting because it's good to talk about. That's what it is. Even like your most insane, even stupid, bad news is good news or just is news to someone. So this is news to some people, and this falls under the weird, the occult, or the cryptoid. So this lady wants to have a baby. So she says now that she's getting married. So apparently this ghost proposed to her, and she's going to marry this ghost. Again, I can marry a ghost. I can be married to a ghost right now. I can say, hey, I can get married right now. Do I take this ghost right next to me as my lawfully wedded wife? Sure I do. How about you, ghost? Do you take him as your lawfully wedded husband? Pause for dramatic effect. No, it doesn't, because she can't talk because she's a ghost. And unless you're like some kind of like exorcist or a priest from the Vatican, like in that movie The Nun, then you might not actually hear her. You know, you got to have some clairvoyancy, because if you're clairvoyant like I am, like I can have sex with them and I can like hear her or him right next to me. And he says he does. Like, ma'am, that is totally not legal by any stretch of the means. But, you know, for shakes and giggles, sure. I, for the power invested in me, the both of you guys are married. All right, you guys, that's a wrap, but not a burrito.